Hello, my name is Tenia Creech, and today I will be presenting on Existentialism is a Humanism by Jean-Paul Sartre. The topic that I was given was despair. So I will begin by saying that when one thinks of despair, you generally think of someone who is kind of lowly, someone who is down and out, someone who's probably full of worry. When you look at them, you probably say like nothing's going right in their world. Well, this is not how Sartre coins the term. He says that despair is basically not putting hope in others, but instead basing it upon the things in our control and those things which have a high probability of happening. So you wouldn't put hope in these things, but they will also have to have a high probability of happening. So on page 35 of Sartre's Existentialism is a Humanism, he states that we cannot count on men whom we do not know based on faith in the goodness of humanity or in man's interest in society's welfare, given that man is free and there is no human nature in which we can place our trust. Basically, that's saying that how can I put my trust in man when there is no human nature that we must go by? Everyone has free will. So why would I put my trust? Why would I put my hope in someone who's liable to change their opinion? So that's kind of what that says. So while to me this is sad, I also saw the realness in that statement. From their view, people oftentimes don't share the same values or morals. So why would we put our trust in them? Man has free will to change their minds, lie, and etc. So just because they say something doesn't mean it's how they truly feel. Again, how can I put my trust in something or someone outside of myself when I really don't know what they would do? So this is why we always have to go and look at the probability of such action actually taking place. So this is why in despair, one is called to look at the probability of something happening. Inevitably, when making decisions, we must analyze if it's likely that a particular action will occur, and based on what we internalize, then we base our decisions. So, according to the text, although we can't make anything happen, it is important for us not to have hope in things we can't control. I am only responsible for myself, so I must be self-reliant. And if I want something to happen, then I must do everything in my power to make it happen. So I can't just wait on others to make my wishes a reality. If I want something to happen, I can't just sit around and wait for you guys to make it happen. If I want an A on this project, which I really do, I can't just look at it, but I also expect that Craig is going to give me an A. What am I putting forth into the assignment to actually give me an A? Further, existentialists believe that dreams, expectations, and hopes only serve to define a man as a broken dream, aborted hopes, and futile expectations. In other words, they define him negatively, not positively. This quote can be found on page 38. They feel that those things are false realities and sets one up for failure. So why would you rely on hopes and dreams and expectations? Because inevitably it's just going to cause you to not be successful. You're going to fail. Because I can't put my hope in someone else. It's only about what I can do. So, however, they do claim that it's our actions that define who we are. Sartre uses the example of a coward. He says that a person isn't a coward because of a physiological makeup, but because of their actions. And I was like, wow, that is actually deep. Like, what I'm born in, my heredity, genetics, whatever, my predisposition, that doesn't define who I am. It's the actions that I take that actually define me. So, for example, a person isn't born a coward. It's their actions that define them as a coward. Likewise, for a person who is seen as a hero in the face of adversity, one would weigh the possibilities and make a decision based upon that which they perceive to happen, but also upon what is expected of them. What does it take for me to be your hero? What does it take for me to be coined as a coward? When I look at the possibilities of either or, do my actions say that I'm a coward? Do my actions actually depict what would be a hero? So that was part of their philosophy. Now, although existentialists don't subscribe to hope and relying on others, they affirm that we cannot discover any truth whatsoever about ourselves except through the mediation of another. That can be found on page 41 of Existentialism is a Humanism. That goes to say that we need others in order to discover ourselves. So how would one recognize a coward except a person with no courage was compared to that person? So although we should not put our hopes in others, we do need them to discover ourselves. That was kind of powerful for me or whatever. I won't say powerful, but it was impactful. That was, I guess I agree with what they said on that point, because I won't know that I'm a coward until I see a hero. How would we even define something if we don't have an example? In closing, I am in disagreement with the existentialism way of thinking that hope is pointless and leads to negativity. If they are weighing the probability of something happening, to me that appears as hope and putting faith in the fact that it will happen. So how can I say that I don't have hope in something if I'm looking at the probabilities, the likelihood that something will happen, and then I'm making my decision upon that? So I'm either hoping that this particular incident will happen, this particular action will take place, or I'm not. So how do you prepare for something if you don't have some kind of way of measuring it or determining the action? And to me, that's hope. So is what they say not the same as hope? Is this way of thinking just a way of protecting oneself from being disappointed in others or rejected by them? It seems like they feel that that if they rely on themselves only, then they won't have to worry about letting others down or even being let down. So my question again is their way of thinking still maybe an attribute of hope? Because it really does still seem like if you're counting up the possibilities and looking at how things affect you, but you're also defining yourself upon others, you're not just self-reliant, but you are also looking at others and determining who you are based on them. So this is why I actually entitled my presentation as Self-Reliant. Thanks.